Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unlocking the story of a single building that has seen and honestly shaped 1,000 years of history, Westminster Abbey. I mean, really think about that. How does a pile of stone and glass become the very soul of a country? That's the question we're tackling today. We're going to see how, from coronations to burials, from royal weddings to quiet reflection, this one incredible place became the embodiment of British history. All right, let's dive right in. The story starts way back, over 1,000 years ago, and this spot, it wasn't the center of London. It was just a marshy, soggy bit of land called Thorney Island, a place monks chose because it was so isolated. Now, here's something you've got to understand right off the bat to get why the Abbey is so important. It's not your average church. It's what's known as a royal peculiar. That basically means it answers directly to the king or queen, not to any bishop. Queen Elizabeth I made it official, and that direct link to the crown is the key to its unique role in the nation. And you can really see how it all unfolded right here. It starts small, with those monks back in 960. Then, 100 years later, King Edward the Confessor decides he needs a grand church for royal burials. But the real game changer, that's King Henry III in 1245. He gets inspired by the huge cathedrals in France, tears down most of the old building, and starts work on the soaring, magnificent Gothic masterpiece that we know today. Okay, so let's get to the really spectacular stuff. This is where the Abbey stops being just a church and becomes a grand theater, cementing that deep, deep connection to the monarchy. 40. Can you believe it? 40 monarchs. And this all started with a brilliant political move. William the Conqueror gets himself crowned here on Christmas Day, 1066. Why? To create a symbolic link between his new Norman dynasty and the last great Anglo-Saxon king, Edward the Confessor, the guy who built the place. It was a masterstroke, and from that moment on, this was the spot, the only spot for a coronation. And right in the middle of all that pomp and circumstance, you have this chair. Honestly, it's one of the most famous and frankly oldest pieces of furniture in the world that's still being used for its original job, the Coronation Chair. And what I find absolutely fascinating about this chair is its original ambition. King Edward I had it made out of simple oak, sure, but then he had it covered in gold leaf and colored glass. Imagine seeing that in the 1300s. It would have looked like it was carved from solid gold, a glittering, divine throne for God's chosen ruler on earth. Just incredible. But it's not all serious business and heavy crowns. The Abbey is also a place of pure national joy. It's hosted at least 16 royal weddings, connecting it to these moments of celebration that are watched by literally millions of people all over the world. Okay, so we've seen the Abbey as this grand stage, but there's a whole other side to it, a much quieter, more reflective side. It's not just a place for the living, it's like a library of the dead. A stone tapestry woven from the nation's collective memory. Just think about that number for a second. Over 3,300 people. The density of history packed into this one building is just staggering. It became such a huge honor to be buried here that one writer perfectly called it a national Valhalla, the hall of heroes for the entire nation. And that, of course, includes 17 monarchs, their tombs creating a physical timeline of royalty. And famously, you have Queen Elizabeth I and her half-sister Mary I, bitter rivals in life, buried together in the same magnificent tomb. Talk about a final ironic twist, right? And then you have the literary giants. The world-famous Poets' Corner kind of happened by accident. Geoffrey Chaucer, the author of the Canterbury Tales, was buried here, and pretty soon other writers wanted to be laid to rest near him. And just like that, a tradition was born. And it's not just about royalty or art. Right near the main entrance, you have this incredible cluster of scientific genius. Sir Isaac Newton was buried like a king, and today, his monument is near Charles Darwin and more recently, Stephen Hawking. It's this powerful statement that faith and reason can exist side by side, bridging centuries of discovery right here inside these sacred walls. But with all of these kings, queens, poets, and geniuses, there is one tomb that holds a place in the nation's heart that is more profound, more poignant than any other. And this is where you really get to the soul of the Abbey. The unknown warrior was chosen completely at random from the battlefields of World War I. His burial here symbolized every single fallen soldier, every grieving family that had no grave to visit. He has no name because he represents them all. His grave is the most sacred spot in the entire church. And that's the thing you have to remember. The Abbey isn't just a museum or a mausoleum. No way. It is a vibrant, living, breathing church with a purpose that's just as real today as it was 1,000 years ago. There's this quote from the Abbey itself that I think just says it all. You see, it doesn't have a local parish like a normal church. Instead, it sees its job as serving a global congregation, welcoming people from every corner of the earth for daily Christian worship. And a huge part of that living, breathing spirit, it's the music. The Abbey's choir has been singing daily services almost nonstop since the 14th century. To sit and listen to the service of evensong sung by the choir, it is a truly sublime experience. And the best part, it's completely free for anyone to go and listen. So if you're thinking of going, and you absolutely should, here's the practical info you need. For general sightseeing, it's usually open Monday through Saturday. You can see the specific times here. The key thing to remember is that on Sundays, it's open for worship only. But anyone is welcome to attend a service, which again is totally free. Just make sure you get there a little early. So when you think about it, a royal theater, a national memorial, and an active house of worship for the whole world, Westminster Abbey is so much more than a beautiful building. It's a living storybook written in stone, and it is truly the heart of a nation. The only question is, what story will you find waiting for you inside?